Hello friends! Welcome to my channel if you are new here. My name is Julie and I am the author of the blog CapturingWonderland.com. Well, it is spring forward and so far I have been extremely lazy today. Just kind of leaned into the Sunday, but I feel the need to be productive and I want to get a start on some smaller projects for my entryway. So I want to work on the mirror. Look how pretty this is. Look at this. I bought this for $5, I think, from a thrift store locally. And it is not perfect, obviously. It needs some work, but it also has quite a bit of scraping on the mirror itself from somebody who was not smart. Looks like they used sandpaper around the edges. So, not a perfect mirror. Doesn't really matter to me. Nobody is going to be using it for like regular use. It's basically going to be used to brighten up the space, to reflect light, and if you need a quick look at your appearance before you walk out the door, basically. So, I'm going to be stripping this. I have prepared my, yes, that was the $5 sticker. That just fell off onto my feet. I have prepared my living room coffee table, which, forgive my mess, this whole room is just, my whole house is just a mess while everything is, like, all the rooms are being worked on. So I have to domino the placement of all the furniture while I'm working in a specific place. So I'm being real. Well, I have it set up here on my coffee table and I just put down some craft paper and I taped it down really well so that it's not moving anywhere. And I have my citrus strip and my little 2-inch angled brush by Wooster. And I'm just going to, I wonder if this comes off. These side brackets actually come off, so I think I'm gonna take those off first. They're flathead screws. Of course they are. Of course they are. The last people to work on this piece, or one of the last people, thought that it would be a good idea to coat the screws and the hardware in the finish. So there was a ton of stuff stuck inside the groove, making it impossible for me to get a screwdriver in there. When you are refinishing things, don't do it with the hardware on. It just takes a little bit of time. More time if it's flathead screws, obviously. So older pieces of furniture will obviously have advantages and disadvantages. Okay. And this hardware is going to have to be stripped as well. So I'll just put this in some boiling vinegar and see what comes off. And I may have to use a metal scraper because they have quite a bit of varnish on them. That off to the side. Okay. Now we can actually do the stripping. And if you were worried about your coffee table or whatever, do it on a surface that you're worried about harming. This actually needs to be refinished, so I'm not worried about it. Okay, now I'm gonna put my timer on for between 20 and 30 minutes and see what we can get off. All right, I am to the point where I can now start scrubbing the remainder of this stuff off. So I have my bucket with an old toothbrush and a scrubby, and I have some soap inside of it, and I got my barkeeper's friend, and I'm just gonna start scrubbing away at it. I'm at the point where I'm going to reinstall the side brackets, and I went ahead and I scrubbed them really clean, and then I used some rub and buff on them so they look pretty. So I'm just going to reinstall them with the very annoying flathead screws that they came with. All right, let's install it. I'm about to hang the mirror, and this space here is 36 3/4, just about. So half of that is a little bit more than 18 1/4. So I went ahead and marked about center, just a teeny weeny mark with my pencil. And I'm gonna test for a stud, but I don't know if I will get that lucky. Don't think there's one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually drill. I've got these universal drywall, what are these things called? My brain is escaping me. Okay, but what are they called? Anyway, these things, when you can't get a stud, I'm going to actually use one of these screws and just see, because I'm not 100% positive if there is or there isn't a stud there. So I'm just going to drill it in. And obviously if it doesn't catch a stud, then I know that there's no stud there. And then I will continue with drilling the hole for the proper size to install this. There's nothing there. So what's next is this actually comes with its own, but I am using my impact driver, so this does not work because it is not set. It's not made for an impact driver. This is made for a regular drill. So I'm just gonna find one that pretty much matches. Although the difference is that this one has a different tip. See how it's wider on the end on that one part? Not really sure why that makes a difference, because once it goes in wider, it's gonna be wider through the whole hole. But, you know, whatever. So I've got this, so I'm just gonna drill a hole, make a mess. I love that these things are supposedly supposed to fit in that hole, but they barely do it all. So just lightly tap it in, just enough to persuade it to do what you want it to, and then just use that screw and put it in the actual hole. So I'm gonna leave it out about that much, and ta-da! I mean, what a difference something tiny like $5 will do for you, and about an hour's worth of time. Look how much difference that makes in this space. It just works perfectly with the dresser. I love it. And I remembered what those are called. They're called anchors. Drywall anchors. So when you can't find a stud, get yourself some drywall anchors. Well, that's one more thing down for this entryway. And I'm just getting closer and closer every day. Okay, so the first step when you want to replace a light fixture is obviously to uninstall the one that's already there. So I made sure that the light switch is off because I do not want to be getting zapped. So now I'm just going to attempt to take this thing down. I'm not really sure what it needs, so let's try it and see where we get. Let's see, hopefully it's really simple, but I guess you never know. And I'm actually giving this light fixture to my dad because I do that with a lot of the stuff that I don't want. Might as well, oops, get another use out of it. Somebody that can appreciate it and it can have new life. I do typically like this Tiffany style of lamp, but it's just not, personally not my style for above lights. What did I drop here? So before I move any further, I'm gonna get a plastic baggie. Okay. So I'm gonna undo these wires and try not to touch them. And then I'm gonna put these back on for safety. And now that is ready for me to install the new light. But the new light actually needs a little bit of work. So why don't we get started on that? Okay, here is the new light, and it is actually missing the ground wire. So I'm gonna have to ask my dad about that situation, see if he can help me with that. It needs to be cleaned up, and I think I'm gonna use rub and buff on the metal itself to kind of give it some new life. It looks a little bit rusted in some areas, so I'm gonna scrub it really well, dry it really well, and then I'm gonna use a little bit of rub and buff. And then I'm gonna come in and clean this globe really well, make it shine again, because this light is just really pretty. I really appreciate it. So you really wanna make sure to not lose your pieces, especially when working with vintage lights, because vintage anything, because you never really know. Like, look at this. It's rusted, so it needs pretty clean. It needs to be cleaned. Okie dokie. You never know. I'm gonna have to use some pliers for that. You never know if you can find the parts for it. So if it comes with all of its parts, be very careful not to lose them. Let's get started on, see if I can take this off, and then we're gonna clean the globe really well. I have managed to take it completely apart. So I have these two pieces now that are all by themselves, no electronics in them. So they are safe to take to the sink and scrub down, probably with some Barkeeper's Friend and a scouring pad, and then dry it really well. So I'm gonna go do that. A very exciting time. So before I can install the light fixture, which is all put back together, cleaned and ready for installation, I even tested it and figured out what to do with the missing ground wire, and I'll tell you about that when I get to installing the light. But before I can do that, I actually have to deal with this first. My plastic ceiling medallion. It's beautiful. It was about $13 on Amazon. So I'm thinking, I already tested it out to make sure that the size looks good for the area and the hole fits properly for my light fixture. You want to make sure that it covers up the hole properly, but that the little, you can get it to install it and all of that stuff fits. So you want to make sure to get the right one. But I am going to paint this the same color as the ceiling, and then I'm going to use some construction adhesive and a caulk gun. And I don't have that, so I actually have to go to the store to buy some. And then I have to do 2 coats of paint, which is White Dove by Behr, on this before I can install it. So kind of excited to get to this point. Obviously, I've never had a ceiling medallion, but I have always wanted one. So I'm excited to start it. So let's get with that process. I'm gonna go get some construction adhesive and we can get started. So I'm at the point now where I'm gonna want to paint this the same color as my ceiling. I have my 2-inch angled brush and I have the paint that I have used elsewhere. So I'm just gonna give it 2 quick coats. All the things are sticking to it because it's plastic. So I popped a ligament in my lower back last night. Therefore, I am having to elicit help for installing the ceiling medallion. And I didn't get the typical construction adhesive, so I'm hoping that this works. I bought this from the store down the road, so hopefully it does what I need it to. It doesn't specifically say plastic. It says wood, drywall, brick, tile, and moldings, so hopefully it's just overkill for this tiny little piece of plastic. And it says 0-second instant grab, all-purpose interior construction adhesive. So hopefully this works. So I gave it 2 coats of paint, so it should be the same color as my ceiling. And I'm just going to put the adhesive right here. And then we're going to have to probably install the light to make sure that it stays up there. So the electrical box is not flush to the ceiling, so that this thing is not sitting correctly. So I'm gonna have to go get my drill and see if we can tighten it up there. So the issue is that the drywall is right up snug with the electrical box. So I'm actually gonna need to cut away some of it to get the box to go up even more. Okay, never mind my ginormous mess for the moment. I have these 2 antique frames and I wanted to use them for my entryway. This one unfortunately dropped while I was trying to fit it and it sustained some damage. I think I'm gonna try to come in with some brown paint to fix it, but otherwise they are beautiful old frames. However, I have nothing that can fit in these frames. I even tried purchasing from Hobby Lobby some oval canvases, but they were just slightly too big, so that didn't work. So I thought to myself, well, I guess I'm gonna have to make them. So I had some hardboard in my stash, in my shed, and I just traced around this on the hardboard, and then I used my Dremel tool to cut it out. And it did require a little bit of finagling, and I had to sand down the sides with my orbital. But other than that, it only fits in one particular way because it's obviously not symmetrical. So there's that. Now this is not how this is gonna stay, obviously. I have plans for it, but the first thing requires that I have a backer board of some sort to go in here. So this one is finished, and I obviously did not realize how in-depth this is. I wasn't really thinking it through. So it is quite loud and quite messy, and I still have room because I have those plate frames that I actually want to do this exact same thing too. So look at the mess I've made on my beautiful linen tablecloth too. You know, I'm just like this. My stuff just has to get used to being used hard. That's how it is. So I've got all these tools and supplies out for multiple different projects that I've got going at the same time, because that is my life. All right, so I have this one left. I think I'm gonna put this down just as a safety board. It does take several passes to cut this out. So, you know, it's just gonna take a bit. And honestly, I haven't used my Dremel very much since I bought it for myself for a Christmas present several years ago. So I'm excited to get to start using it. My son's been using it a lot, and it has proven quite useful. So if you're thinking about a Dremel tool, you should pick it up because it does really come in handy, especially when you don't want to, like I could have used my jigsaw for this, but I just think it would have made a mess of this hardboard because I don't have a really good blade. Thank you. And you will want to wear your goggles. I didn't with the first one, and got dust in my eyes, so. All right, got my safety goggles on, so let's just get to it. I was thinking about cutting out the inside, but I think I'm gonna keep it. All right, well, it looks like I used up the last of that. So I guess I will be going out to my saw. At least I am left with the straight cuts. That's what I'm thankful for at the moment. I got the rounded one done, so I can go out to my actual saw and cut this. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna take you outside because it's freezing, so I'll be right back. All right, I got them both done. There's one, and here's two, and that is just the first part of the project. And I will obviously have to buy new Dremel pieces before I get to those other frames, but that's okay because that's not a part of the entryway anyway. I've decided I'm putting these in the entryway, so these are the prime project. I'll show you the other ones another day. My other thought was to turn these into a message board of sorts. So I'm thinking that I'm going to cover them really taut with some bleached drop cloth that I have, but perhaps I will use, not cork, but I'm thinking maybe I will use some, not embroidery. I'm thinking that I'm going to almost cover them in like a batting and then cover them in this and then hot glue the back. That is what my plan kind of is. So, because I'm thinking about being able to print out some botanical prints and then like pinning them to this, and then it will be able to be switched out. That is my theory for the moment. I'm not sure if that's how it's gonna work, but that's what I'm going towards. So, all right, I will see you when I'm ready to start the next part of the project. spot where I would like to hang my beautiful pieces of art. I just love this idea, mostly because I have, obviously, these 60 beautiful botanical pieces now that I can use to change them out and for different seasons and stuff. So I just really like this. I like the drop cloth fabric in the back. I think it just looks like linen, and I just think that it adds a really pretty texture to this beautiful antique frame. And so I would like to put them up on the wall just right here. But of course there are no studs there. So I will have to drill into the wall, and I think I'm going to use actual screws because I tried nails and they didn't hold it up very well. And so since there are no studs, I'm just gonna go with a drywall anchor and then make sure that those screws are really gonna hold these things on the wall because I don't want them coming out and falling like they did before. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my drill bit and then we're gonna get to it. I can already tell which one I used last time because it's still got the drywall on it. So I'm set. I made my holes with my nails already initially, so I know exactly where I want them to go. It's just a matter of putting them in the wall. Probably not a recommended use for the back end of a battery, but it seems to work pretty well for me, so. That one can go in a little bit more. I think they look beautiful and I am really loving what they add to this space. I also have an idea to add these lovely hangers. They're cast iron hangers that I got from Hobby Lobby. And I was thinking that I was going to coat them in something, but now I don't think that I will do that. I think that I like them just cast iron, and I just want to have them like right here so that I can hang my purse. My husband can hang his keys or something right there on the hooks, and it's just a perfect place to put them. So I think I'm going to mark my spot for these and go ahead and drill them in at the same time. Perfect. Honestly, I think it's these little touches that make all the difference in the world when it comes to spaces. Looking and feeling like they belong to us and like they're a part of us and they represent us and our styles. So don't be afraid to be kind of nitpicky with your space. Try things out. I mean, you have nothing to lose. So, but time, obviously. I'm okay with projects taking me a little bit longer if it means that I get it right, you know? And sometimes it takes years, honestly, if I'm perfectly honest. I have redone my living room at least twice now in different stages. The first time was just a simple painting, and then I've tried different wall treatments up on the wall. Right now I have shiplap on this wall, and I'm gonna keep it because it's way too much work to do anything other than that. And it hides drywall damage that I don't want to have to repair. So it was a very handy way to cover up the space. But my point is that spaces take time, and it's okay to take the time and to try something out, and then you can change it down the road if you find that your styles have changed or you have learned more skills and you can kind of upgrade from what you did last time, and that's perfectly okay too. I know my skills have gotten quite a bit better than what they were originally, so I'm able to do more things than I was originally. So one more project down. I'm loving it. And basically all I have left is this wardrobe over here, and I think I'm gonna actually be getting to that. I'm liking how the space is turning out. All right, one of the last things that I need to do is caulk around the ceiling medallion. Simple things to finish up the space, and they're actually really easy to do. You just actually have to do it. So, and because my ceiling is so uneven, I'm having to put in a lot more caulk on this side, and I might have to let it dry and then come back in with more. So I'm glad that nobody's gonna be like looking at the ceiling very well, because it's gonna look kind of sloppy up here. It's like building up the caulk to fill in this giant gap over here. There might have been a better way to do it, but this is the easiest, and so the least path of resistance is the direction I'm taking right now. That's looking pretty good. I mean, it doesn't make a humongous difference because obviously you can't tell, especially from here, but I can tell because I know it's done got left over. Phew. All right, one more thing checked off the list. So I hope that you enjoyed watching all of those small projects. I'm sorry that I couldn't go into as good of detail as I wanted to on some of the projects, simply because of my back issues and me having to just kind of get through them because I was in a lot of pain. But I'm happy to have them finished, and I hope that you enjoyed watching the transformation happen with just small things. It's just a culmination of really small projects, or big projects rather. The big project on the walls being the fake brick was actually one of the most fun. I really didn't mind the work, and I think that it just had a dramatic impact on this space. The paint obviously too. Painting the doors was wonderful. I still need to do touch-ups on those, but I think I'm gonna wait until the weather is better and then just take them off and take them outside and do a better job of it. Painting the floor was a really big project, and it made a really big impact, and I really like it, and it's holding up fairly well. Another one was the 2 furniture projects that I had. This dresser is just absolutely gorgeous, and then also this wardrobe to my side here that I recently finished, and if you didn't watch that video, I'm gonna put it up here for you to go ahead and watch it. Then it's just pulling the space together with the tiny projects like the mirror that I absolutely love. I think it is perfect in this space. It's just like it was just waiting there for me. And I added my snake plant because I really don't think that the space needs a ton. It's just something to brighten up the space. My artwork, which I'm gonna be going into more detail on that entire process, as well as a fun kind of example slash experiment of how we can take art prints, inexpensive art prints, and make them look like actual paintings. So that video is going to be coming up. I actually have several more frames that I want to do it to as well, so we're going to have fun with that. Just adding those couple of little decorative cast iron hooks. Are actually from Hobby Lobby if you're interested in them. I have had them for years, and I didn't know what I was going to do with them, but I thought that they were beautiful, and they were only like $3 a piece. So very inexpensive, and it gives my husband a place to put his keys now that I have taken away his little wall hanger thingy. So anyway, thank you so much guys for watching all the way through. If you've made it this far, don't forget to like the video if this is content that inspires you and ideas and entertains you a little bit, maybe even. And if you are not yet subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. And that's a wrap, guys. This project is finished, and I'm moving on to finishing my daughter's bedroom. I also have some really fun gardening content coming up. I have a mess of a front yard and a backyard, and I unfortunately dealt with some drought issues last year and city water that killed all of the plants that I had out in front, all of my beautiful herbs. So I'm going to be remedying that this year, and I'm gonna bring you along with it. Thanks again, guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye.